Hi everyone, it's Sophia. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to my podcast. So I have to give a fair warning. I am incredibly sleep deprived. I got about 3 hours of sleep, and this will all make sense in a little bit. But yeah, that if certain words that come out of my mouth don't make any sense, just know it's because of that. So anyways, let's get into it. Today's topic is heartbreak. I don't know if this is the best time to be making this episode, simply because I am not at the point where I can talk about heartbreak in retrospect. I'm experiencing heartbreak as we speak. And while it is good to have an insider account, and I guess it's also a little bit more relatable for any girlies who are going through heartbreak right now, we're in this together. I guess most times when I talk about something, I like to talk about it in retrospect as I have had the full experience with it, or pretty much the full experience with it, and this is what I've learned. But anyways, it's fine. I think, if this doesn't make any sense, then I'll redo it later on. And if it does, well, hi, welcome to this episode. So heartbreak is going to a club with your friend to see your favorite DJs of all time. You've been listening to these DJs remixes for years and they're in town. So you go see them and you go to this club. You're fully sober because you're in your sober girl era, and they come out and you somehow manage to get put at a table even though you didn't go with a promoter, and all of a sudden you are dancing at the highest elevated surface there is on the ground level of the club, and you dance for 3 hours straight, okay? Fully sober, going deep into the night. This is from 1:30 to 3:30. That's not 3 hours, that's 2. But you are dancing your little heart out. You're having your moment. You're hot. Life is great. You're just enjoying this thing with your friend. And somehow you are still thinking, that's I feel what happens when you're sober. You're still, if you are an overthinker, your mind continues to be occupied. But anyways, you're having a good time. And then the night comes to a close. You leave the club, you order your Uber, and you and your friend are standing outside and you're waiting for your Uber. And all of a sudden you are hit by an overwhelming amount of emotion. An amount of emotion you have not felt in a long time, and you just feel you're on the verge of crying, but you don't know if it's actually going to happen because you're not a big crier, but as you get into the Uber, you somehow just end up breaking down, and your friend is sitting there trying to comfort you. And this is all because while you're at the club, you start to think about it, and you start to think about how you are not wanted anymore. The person who wanted you for such a long time doesn't act like they want you anymore. You are on your own now, and you are not distracting yourself with any other guys who may want you. So really no one wants you. And there's nothing wrong with being not wanted. But for some reason, it just something about this club experience has just launched you into intense heartbreak. And while you've tried so hard for such a long time, mind you, for reference, I'm about almost 4 months out from the breakup. Although you think that you've done an amazing job at suppressing the emotions and coming off as, I'm fine, obviously this sucks, but I'm doing okay, it somehow all just unleashes itself in this Uber ride. And yeah, that was my most recent heartbreak experience that happened last night. And I came home this morning and I was telling my sister the story because obviously I was just not doing okay, as I think most heartbroken people are. And I'm telling her the story, and again, I'm just hit by this overwhelming amount of emotions. And I don't know whether it's because I'm sleep deprived, because it really is all coming down on me. That whole act of I'm okay. Yes, I had a breakup. Yes, I'm losing that person, but I'm doing fine, has just dissolved, and now you have to deal with the real emotion. And I know that there are probably people out there who have had a very similar experience, crying in the club, crying after the club, crying in any capacity. I think everyone deals with heartbreak differently, and I feel like my experience with heartbreak has been very different from what I kind of expected heartbreak looked like. I thought that the first like couple weeks after the breakup for me would be just like very heartbroken, and then after that it would like start to get better. But what has actually happened for me, and I know some other people may be able to relate to this, but maybe most people don't, is that it's kind of come in spurts. I was fine after the breakup. I think that was also because like we stayed in contact, so he wasn't fully gone. But then in the past like 4 months, I've had moments where it's really hit, and especially the past couple of weeks for some reason have been especially hard. And I think that's because I am finally like really letting go. And the thing with all of this is like, I don't scold myself for feeling this way. I don't love feeling it, but it's like such a natural part of heartbreak. It really sucks. Like it really, really does. But I'm not upset at myself for feeling that way, and no one should ever be, because I take it as a sign of progress. If I am having these moments where I'm filled with emotions, it means that I'm actually moving forward, not going backwards. While it may feel like I'm going backwards because a breakup was not very recently, you know, it was a couple months ago, but yet I am being hit by these emotions now, I don't see it as like, oh, I'm regressing, you know, like this is something I should have experienced earlier on, and now I'm somehow regressing and feeling it now. No, I see it as like, this is my way of making progress. And honestly, throughout the journey, I mean, every day has been different, and overall, I do feel like I've been able to put on a good act of I'm okay. But I just feel like at the end of the day, like I've had to deal with it each day in its own way. And yet what I've been particularly proud of is just the progress that has been made over time. And I really do feel like I've been making progress. So anyways, this is for all the heartbroken girlies out there. You may not feel it the same way I do. Maybe you feel it all like together, and it's really heavy and it lasts multiple days, weeks, months. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. The thing about heartbreak is like, it is painful. Despite the fact that it's been going on for centuries, pretty much everyone will experience heartbreak in some way or another at some point in their life. We have not come up with a way to make it less painful, less intense, just less of a hard situation, you know? And I seriously don't think it ever will be. And the worst part about it is you are not the first nor the last person to experience heartbreak. Your situation, of course, you know, it's unique to you, but ultimately, like, heartbreak is not a unique thing. Everyone, you know, like if you look around like at your family members, like if they're older than you and they've been in relationships before, likely they've experienced some sort of heartbreak. Heartbreak also comes in forms outside of, you know, relationship type stuff. It comes in family relationships, it comes in career aspirations, and like there's just such a long list of what heartbreak can be attributed to. But of course, I'm specifically talking about my experience with heartbreak in a relationship. And yeah, it's extremely hard. It's extremely painful. It's not fun. It takes a long time too. Like, it's not one of those like one and done things. Like you experience it for a little bit and you're like, all right, I think I'm over it. Well, I'm sure there are people out there who have had that experience, but generally I feel like while you're in that healing process, it comes back in different forms throughout your process. And the thing about it is like, eventually one day you'll be good. You won't feel heartbroken anymore. You will feel as if that weight is lifted from you, but it may seem like that time is so far away because of how you feel right now. And it may be, it may not be. It may be actually really close. You know, you may be like at your final stretch. It's like one last overwhelming emotion moment, breakdown in the Uber, like cry to your friend moment that's getting you to the point where you finally feel, okay, I can let it go now. I'm okay. I experienced it as it was. And yeah, I mean, I think something like heartbreak, it teaches you so many lessons. It makes you more resilient. Like there's like good parts to it, but of course it's just such a hard thing to go through. So like, I'm not going to say like, oh, heartbreak is great actually because of how strong it makes you. You know, like no one wants to be heartbroken and hear someone say that because it's like, do you not see that I'm like struggling right now? I think the other hard thing about it is like, what kind of support system do you have? Some people have really great support systems. They have best friends, really close friends who, you know, sit with them, listen to them talk about the whole situation, watch like movies with them, get them ice cream, like take them to do stuff, blah, blah, maybe family members, etc., etc. And then other people just like are on their own. And I feel like while I have been able to confide in friends and family members, I feel like for the most part, I've been pretty alone on this journey just because it's hard I'm just in a weird situation where it's like, I think some people don't really understand why I would be experiencing that if I still like have been in contact with him or we've been working on things together. But the thing is, it's a very separate thing, you know? And unfortunately, like no one will really ever understand because, well, unless you find yourself in a situation like mine, but I highly doubt anyone will because it's such a unique situation. I also wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Like I really wouldn't. But anyways, the point is like, yeah, sometimes it can come off as why would Sophia be heartbroken over a relationship that ended, but she still has the person. But like, it's hard, you know, because I feel like I'm losing the person I knew. And specifically recently, I've just been losing him altogether. And knowing that the person that you still want has seemed to move on and not want you anymore is just an incredibly difficult realization because you were like, you almost feel like dumbfounded. You're like, I thought I knew what was going on here and now I don't. And in the moment, like when I was feeling that overwhelming emotion, I was just like, what happened? You know, like what happened here? Like, why do I feel so alone? And like, I just don't know what to do, you know? So anyways, I think with heartbreak, you can only take it day by day. You can't get mad at yourself for feeling it. You can't get mad at how long it takes you to deal with it, how long you feel heartbreak. Heartbreak is very normal, but of course, when you're in it, it's not fun whatsoever. It's not a fun situation. If it helps you, you can think about the positive parts of it. I think for me, a lot of what I've been thinking while I've been dealing with it is just, this is all in the plans. I have to go through this in order to get better. And one day I will be in a situation where I'll look back and I'll be like, I'm glad that I stuck it through and I worked through it and all that because now I get to enjoy something really, really great. And I think that's a great way of thinking about it. There's something out there in your future that's going to be so much better. Like think about the people who go through like this massive heartbreak and then meet their like absolute best friend, life partner afterwards, and it's just they click and it's amazing and everything works out and they have like sort of a happy ending, you know? Who knows what this current heartbreak that you're experiencing, if you're experiencing one, will lead to? You know, it could lead to something really, really amazing. But I just like to think that every heartbreak comes with like a step up. You know, you're upgrading. And obviously I know that this may not necessarily be my only heartbreak I ever experience. And for you, if you're going through a heartbreak right now, same thing. And I do struggle with kind of the idea of like letting another person in when the time feels right, just because I know what happens at the end and just living in this fear that I'll have to go through it all over again. Because like I said, it's not fun. And while I'm experiencing it, it's like I don't want to do that, but I just hope that someone will come along eventually where it's like I kind of forget what comes at the end and I'm just excited for the beginning and what comes with it. But yeah, if you can think of like a positive way to look at it, it just helps your mindset a little bit. You know, be delusional about it too. Like just be like, this is happening because I'm meeting my future husband next or something like that, or like future wife or like whatever like helps you kind of manage through it and feel better about the whole situation and also pushes you to like work through it and keep going. It may seem like the most delusional thing ever, but if it works for you, it works for you. And as long as you don't feel heartbreak over kind of creating that idea or narrative in your head after the heartbreak you experience, then I think it's fine. You know, the universe has a plan for me and I just need to let things happen naturally. And as things happen naturally, things will fall into place and it'll make more and more sense as I go on. You know, like one day I will be sitting at some point in my life and I'll be looking back at this current moment. I'll be like, it made sense. You know, I had to cry in that Uber. I had to be comforted by my friend. I had to feel those emotions to get to where I am now. And I've had this experience where it's like I've looked back, I look at my life now and I look back at points of my life in the past and I'm like, that had to happen to get to where I am now. And those events have made me more resilient. They've made me more unique. They've made me the person I am. They've just made me more capable. And while it was hard to deal with, and of course, there's a lot of things that I not necessarily want to go back and deal with if I had to, you know, it's part of my life story. It's part of just what makes me me. And one day I can tell the story of it to whoever wants to listen. And yeah, I mean, that seems pretty great. Like, I do want to write a book. So I don't know, maybe in a couple of years you can look out and see whether I have a book published. Maybe not a couple of years. Give it like maybe 10 years, honestly. But yeah, no, I think that thinking about it in sort of a positive manner, thinking about what this could result in is the important part, and not getting too caught up about it. Like, letting yourself feel emotions, letting yourself have thought, but not dwelling on those thoughts and emotions too much. You know, let yourself feel, but if you're feeling too hard and it's like really impacting you in a negative way, try and step back. That's obviously easier said than done, but find a way to just, look back and think about your thoughts and say, okay, it's okay for me to have these thoughts. It's okay for me to have these feelings. Like, let's say you're sitting here and you're like, I swear, like, no one's ever going to love me again. That's a heavy thought, because if you start to really dwell on it, you're like, I'm an unlovable human being. Why? And you start picking out your flaws. I've done this before, actually. You start picking out your flaws. You're like, this is wrong with me and this is wrong with me and all that. And these flaws are like flaws that maybe are perfections to other people, but you just don't know. Like, you're picking out your flaws subjectively based off of what you think flaws are. But yeah, it can really pull you down a rabbit hole, and there goes your self-confidence, self-esteem, mental health, like, et cetera, et cetera. It can put you in a bad place. But when you find yourself thinking, oh, I'm unlovable, don't be mad for thinking that. Just step back and say, okay, is this true? Let me think about the people who love me right now, the people I have in my life. Maybe your parent, maybe friend, maybe both, maybe neither, but maybe there's someone out there who showed you love in some way, some respect, whatever it is. Think about how you've been loved before, and think about how it's only natural that you'll be loved in the future, because everyone finds someone. There will be love for you in the future. It will work out. And so, no, you're absolutely not unlovable. I've had my periods of times where I've also sat in bed and thought, I'm an unlovable person. No man would ever want me. There's just something about me. Honestly, I was kind of feeling that yesterday too. Not necessarily that, but I was just like, what is wrong with me? Like, why do guys not hit on me? Like, why is no one interested? Why does no one want me? But just like being able to step back from those thoughts and say, okay, valid thoughts, but like, let's really think about it. Let's think about our experiences. Maybe if you had like the same thought as I did, like, maybe you happen to get like hit on in a really weird context. It's not like no one's hitting on you. It's just maybe not as many people are hitting on you, or not the type of people you want hitting on you. But it's like, you can't have that high of an expectation, I can go into a rabbit hole of what that means and all that. But the point is, don't let your thoughts consume you, because that can put you in a worse state than you are currently. Accept your thoughts and then try to dispute them, if they're bad thoughts. Yeah. I think that's really important. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's so many ways to deal with it. The point is, at the end of the day, it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard, and you're going to have to deal with it. And you just have to remind yourself that this is making you stronger. This is making you more resilient. You are strong for managing through. Let yourself feel. Do whatever it takes to make yourself feel better. Also know that time heals everything. Eventually, you will get to a point where you will feel significantly better, if not at your best. You just have to give it time, you really just have to give it time. And even if it's been a while, like, you cannot get mad at yourself for taking so long to move along on that journey, to move away from heartbreak, to heal. Everyone goes at their own pace. Everyone blooms at their own pace. And it's okay if you take longer than maybe your friends did, or people on social media did, or wherever you're seeing people, don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare the way that you feel heartbreak to them, which I was doing at the beginning, where I was like, oh, it seems like people deal with heartbreak like this, and I'm not dealing with it like that. And now it's just hit me like a truck one day, and I'm sitting here like breaking down crying. What in the world? Like, this is not normal for me. Just don't compare yourself. Accept that you are going to experience things the way that you experience them, and you're going to find a way to deal with them the way that feels right to deal with them. But yeah, basically, if you are going through heartbreak like I'm proud of you for sticking it through, for whatever progress you're making, for just moving forward, and know that you are making progress. Like, even if it may not feel like it, eventually you'll see little markers of progress, and you'll be like, wow, this seems like the most minuscule thing, and yet, because I wasn't sure whether I was making progress, this is huge for me. It may be as simple as like not reaching out to your ex anymore, or not texting him when you're at the club and you're drunk and you're sad, you know, like stuff like that. It may seem like it's like, oh, I should be able to do that without a problem. But like you're doing that and that was something you weren't doing before, like that's progress and you have to celebrate that however you want to celebrate it. Get yourself a sweet treat, pat yourself on the back, throw a little dance party, like give yourself like a night in, like whatever it is, just do things to make yourself feel better. Like prioritize yourself in this moment, because that's the other thing with breaking up and heartbreak, you are choosing yourself. And by choosing yourself, you should choose to do things that make you feel good. So anyways, yeah, that's my take on heartbreak as someone who's going through it right now. Maybe one day I will be able to tell the tale from the other side, and I won't feel this way anymore. And yeah, I probably will do like an episode just so that I can recap and I can kind of give like a motivational speech on what it is like to accomplish heartbreak no longer, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right way to put it, but that's all I'm getting right now. That 3 hours of sleep is really creeping and crawling in. Anyways, yeah, thank you so much for listening. I would love if you rate my podcast and follow my podcast on whatever streaming platform you're listening to. You can always DM me on Instagram if you have questions, comments, whatever it is. I'd love to hear from you guys. And yeah, just want to get you guys involved, want to hear from you, want to know that there are people out there who are listening to me. And I will see you in my episode next week. Bye.